Hello, welcome to 30 Minutes. I'm Rick Anthony. I recently interviewed Dr. Ilana Fishbein, a Lower Merion mother whose outrage about the woke curriculum in her children's school was ignored by those in power. So she took action and founded the No Left Turn in Education movement, whose chapters throughout the country are becoming the rightful nemesis of local woke school boards. My guest today is head of school for a private academy that's the antithesis of woke. Regina Luminus Academy was founded on and operates on the principles of Catholic classical education. Regina Luminus Academy, located in Berwyn, is one of the sister academies in the region started by parents and other lay people who want something better for their children. The schools have become exemplars for teaching students critical thinking, not critical race theory, education, not indoctrination, equal opportunity, not equity. Marybeth Brehaney has been head of school for Regina Luminus Academy for almost 3 years and is here today to tell us about the school, about the academy, and why it's been growing. The academy is really very special. I know you believe that because you've committed your life to it. Please expand on the definition of what Catholic classical education is. Because I think that's what I had when I went to school.
It is probably in great part, and the Catholic part most certainly. Classical education is something that can be done, as Dr. Fishbein noted in your previous interview, can be done in public schools too. You know, you don't have to be Catholic, you don't have to be Christian. Right. So classical education, in the sense that you see it, if you were to Google it and different things would come up, is an ancient form of education that came down to us even into our generations, right? It's going back and appreciating the learning, the wisdom of the past, the great books, the Iliad and the Odyssey, Rome and its laws, and the empire, and moving on through history and bringing that to the students at various ages in various ways. It's also educating the whole person. It's recognizing the different ways we learn at different periods of our lives. So for instance, we call the primary grades grammar school, right? The grammar portion of our education is when we learn the tools. We learn reading, writing, and arithmetic. And then we get a little older, we kind of take those tools and we start asking questions about what we're learning. We want to know about maps and history and things like that. That's the logic phase. And we go through that over and over several times. You know, you have your 3-year-old who asks a lot of questions, but then you also have your 5th and 6th grader who ask a lot of questions, and then hopefully all into adulthood asking questions. So that's the logic phase where you ask the questions, you learn the content, and so on. And then ultimately, hopefully, people reach the rhetoric stage where you are able to take the skills you have, the things you've learned, the answers you've gotten, and express them to others, communicate them, be it at a meeting or as a teacher or teaching your own children, that sort of thing. So that's kind of a very basic kind of classical education, rooted in history, but looking towards the future. Teaching that critical thinking, teaching those speaking skills and writing skills and so on, but based on the good, the true, and the beautiful of what we humans have done throughout the ages.
But it's also highly participatory and experiential, huh?
It is. There's a lot of discussion. So when you're reading great literature, and including in history, you know, be it Cicero, be it the Chronicles of Narnia, you know, depending on the age group, reading and discussing with each other. It's a very in-person, a human-to-human experience, and very participatory. And then delving in, allowing people learn in all different ways, right? And some people learn through doing projects. Some people learn through reading and writing.
The Regina Luminus Academy, as I said, is one of 4, is that correct?
Yes.
Were they all founded at about the same time and for the same purpose?
Kind of in a sequence. Yes, but let me really briefly get back to your previous question. So we add the Catholic onto classical. So in the Regina Academies, parents are assured that they get a Catholic education also. The teachers are practicing Catholics. They know their faith, and they apply it in the sciences. They apply it
Yes.
in the liberal arts and so on.
And they have to declare themselves as
we do.
practicing Catholics, right?
Yes, yeah. They take a kind of an oath of fidelity to the
Yes.
Catholic Church, yeah. So I just wanted to clarify that, because I began with classical education can be taught in many different ways, and ours is with a particular Catholic emphasis in our school. So the Regina Academies were founded for just that. In 2003, Regina Luminis opened, and Regina Luminis is now in Abingdon. It was founded by Paul and Barbara Henkels, who saw their children growing up, saw their grandchildren coming, and wanted the best kind of education that could be provided for those people. And the Catholic schools were beginning to not do that as much.
Those that were left.
Imitating the public schools, and it all leads up to why you need no left turn in education. And so Regina Luminis started. It was noticed by some parents in Downingtown about that time, some had been homeschooling, some in the parish schools, some in public schools. They wanted the same thing. So a couple families sent their children 45 minutes every morning over to Regina Luminis, where it was originally, and investigated, had their children learn in that way, and really loved it. And so in the meantime, a school was opened, Regina Angelorum Academy in Ardmore, where it still is, by St. Coleman's Church. And then in 2008, Regina Luminus Academy opened in Downingtown, and now we're currently in Berwyn at St. Monica Parish.
But they're all independent. They have their own boards, right?
They have their own boards, and there's the final one, the fourth one, is the Regina Academy at St. John the Baptist in Ottsville. And they were a parish school that was closing, and some interested parents. Again, all these schools are born out of the hearts of the parents, and continue to strive to grow and mature out of the hearts of the parents and the families. And that was a parish school that was closing, was rapidly losing people, and they switched and became a Regina Academy.
Do they all have the same curriculum?
Not exactly. It's the same basis.
Yes.
Many of the same things, of course.
Yes.
The literature and the history, same basic order, but individual to each academy are presented also all in a classical way. But there are many ways of doing classical and so on. So, if you're in the third grade at Regina Luminis, you might be reading something that they're not reading over at Regina Luminis, but they're reading something similar.
But as an old, and I mean old teacher myself, I think there's a distinction between a curriculum, a syllabus, and then there's technique, the individual teacher,
the pedagogy,
what he or she brings to it, the pedagogy. Is there similarity?
Oh, very much so. Yeah. And for instance, in the pedagogy and the classical curriculum, a lot of kind of seminar style, a lot of Socratic dialogue.
Yes.
Not just giving answers, but getting people to think and ask questions and things like that.
You've grown, maybe exponentially is the wrong word, but you certainly have grown rapidly over the past few years, partly because of COVID, but also partly because there's a growing awareness of the wokeism in other schools, public schools particularly. But you also have people of other faiths who are coming to Regina Luminis, right?
We do. And we have throughout the years, but particularly coming post-COVID and people having, being shut out of their schools, not allowed into their schools. I was just speaking with a mom this morning who was had her daughter at a private Catholic school here, a very fancy one. And when COVID hit, parents were just absolutely, especially if they refused to get vaccinated, were absolutely not allowed on campus for anything, for any events or anything, even at a distance. So a lot of people came looking, but we always have, throughout the history of the school, had parents who sought our kind of education, despite their different faith beliefs. We've had Mormons. We currently have a number of Greek Orthodox in our school. We've had Lutherans, we've had Episcopal.
How do you accommodate them? Let me see. Catholicism is an integral part of the school.
It is, very much so.
So how do you deal with that?
We ask them to understand that, And so the children, the classes go to Mass, the parish Mass twice a week, for instance. We pray Catholic prayers, make the sign of the cross, that sort of thing. In our classes, we teach, Regina Luminis is a pre-K through 12. So, you know, in the high school, for instance, when you get talking about social issues and sexual morality and things like that, we teach with the eyes of the church from the magisterium. And we, up front, ask people to respect that and understand that. We have parents of whatever persuasion sign a document of understanding, basically, that they know that we are going to always, when a push comes to shove, we will be with the church, and that their children be asked to participate. Now, to be respectful, you know, they can come to Mass and just respectfully participate or sit, or perhaps, you know, other arrangements could be made, but we don't give up our faith.
So obviously you're not proselytizing.
No, just evangelizing.
Yeah. Okay, good.
And it works.
Good take. What is the ratio of teachers to students?
It's about 1 teacher per 10 students. We try to keep our classes, now in a given class, that's not necessarily what you're going to see. We try to keep our classes limited to 18 students per teacher. We have a number of people who teach part-time and, you know, different things over the course of the school day. Again, from the pre-K through 12, it gets all complicated. But approximately 1 teacher for every 10 students, and not in any combined class, trying not to go over 18.
And these are paid teachers?
We pay our teachers.
Okay. Yeah. But nonprofit organizations, I don't have to tell you this, live on volunteers and the support you get from volunteers.
We do. You want it for yourself? Rick is one of our great volunteers. Comes in and actually teaches weekly an innovation and entrepreneurship class, which as kind of modern as innovation and entrepreneurship is, entrepreneurship's never modern, nor is innovation, but we think tech and we think business and we think today and tomorrow. That fits right in with the classical curriculum of taking what you've learned and applying it for the good, the true, and the beautiful in life.
Please walk through a typical day for a 5th grader.
For a 5th grader. So a 5th grader would come in the morning.
Pick a grade.
Yeah, 5th grade's fine. It's a good middles kind of grade. One thing we do at Regina Luminis is there's somebody at the door every morning greeting every child that comes in by name, saying glad you're here, and so on. And it's not a forced thing. It's what we like to do. We want each child to know that they're recognized.
Because they're entering a community.
It's very much a community. And so they come in, they've been welcomed in, they go to their classroom. We begin each day, both the elementary school and the high school, with what we call forum, generally. And forum is when the whole school gets together. Now we've expanded our population so much that the high school has their own and the lower school has their own. But 2 times a week, those groups will meet together and we begin the day praying together. And then reading from the Bible, reading the daily readings for the Mass. And then if any class has memorized a poem, has a presentation, they've been studying ancient Egypt, for instance, and they've all built pyramids and they're going to explain them to everybody, those sort of things will happen at Forum. So that the children from their very earliest years all the way through being seniors in high school get a chance to be in front of a group of varied ages. So they're little children, they're peers, there are older students, and adults. Often the parents come in. We always welcome the parents in to hear these things and present themselves, present a poem, present a display of something. Forum is about half an hour. On other mornings, as I said, they attend Mass twice a week, the parish Mass. And then there's 1 day a week where the parish does not have Mass, but the whole school, our whole school together, using the PA system, prays the Rosary together, because we really rely on God, and we really rely on the Blessed Mother. The Regina of all the Regina Academies is the Blessed Mother, the Queen. So that's how the morning begins. Then it goes into class time, and there's literature class, there's grammar, there's history, there's geography, there's science. All these things, including science, we try to teach in a way that they're like gears that fit together. you know, what you're reading in literature, you're also probably studying in history, and you can begin to make connections. Science is taught in a spiral. So each year in the elementary school, they cover physics and chemistry and biology according to that particular age levels, maturity, and then come around again the next year and build on that, and so on up until high school. But in high school, we offer chemistry and physics and biology, and you know, as lab classes and things. Lunch, every child, they all have lunch, several different periods of lunch because of the number of them, but every student, from the littlest to the oldest, has lunch recess. They get out there, and usually it's outside, and they can, sometimes it's in the gym, but they can socialize, they can play, some great dodgeball and foursquare things go on, things like that. And then again, back to class. Depending on the day, all the students again have one day where they have music, choral music, one day where they have art, usually the visual arts and so on. All the students have PE. We're lucky enough to be able to do that at present. And so we're trying to educate the whole person, you know, not just utilitarian, you know, for the business world, but the person who lives in a body, you know, and the person who has eyes and enjoys entertainment and enjoys art and things like that. So that's the day.
How do you accommodate children with special needs?
We've been working on that, particularly at our school. We have one teacher who has some very good training in that. She did early intervention for a number of school districts in Delaware also. And so she has good knowledge of how that all works. And in Pennsylvania, we're lucky. There are many resources for children who have special needs. And what we found throughout our history is that you're always going to have children with special needs, either diagnosed or undiagnosed. And when you bring in families, there is going to be that one child who learns differently or needs different kind of support. And so we've been working to how do we bring that education as best we can. We can't serve everybody. We don't have all the resources in the public school. But we try to work with the intermediate unit, the Chester County Intermediate Unit, and also the school districts that children come from, to find out who that child is, what are their needs, how can we support them, you know, be it giving them a longer time on tests, or be it giving a more detailed rubric for an assignment, or things like that. And so basically we mainstream them, but the teachers have learned to accommodate them as best they can in the classroom too.
I would guess for the other children, it's a teaching opportunity as well.
Well,
to be tolerant and respectful of difference and so on. Oh,
absolutely, and I've seen this. I'm also a Regina Luminis parent, and so when my daughter, we moved here when my daughter was in the 6th grade, and in her class there was a boy who definitely had some real learning needs. One would say he might have been on the spectrum. Anyway, he, as young adults now, these classmates are all still friends, and older classmates and even younger ones, and they support each other, and the tolerance was just very natural to them. Of course, this person acts this way or needs these things, and it's just like being in a family. You learn to be of support.
Every school, if it's lucky, is able to create a culture where there's a strong sense of identity. Students are proud to be a part of whatever the school happens to be.
I hope so.
And they wear the logo and their name and so on. Usually, however, that's enabled by sports. So what sports programs does Regina Luminis have for its students?
It is. Sports do contribute a lot to that. We have been lucky, again, with parental support. This came from a father and a family that really wanted to do this. We belong to the PIAA, and we have middle school and high school cross-country and track and field teams. And especially this parent, but supported by other parents and teachers within the school, has worked to use all the resources we could gather. They borrow a field and track to run around and so on. And our teams have done very well. Just in the last 2 years, they actually, the cross-country team went to the championships this year, both boys and girls in high school. And then for the little ones, we set up our own Catholic youth organization, our own CYO track and field team. So, and again, a lot of parental support and making that happen, but also help from teachers who don't have children doing that. So those are big sports, but then we also, our kids at Regina Luminis come from all over the place. A lot from Chester County, from Downingtown, from Coatesville, from Westchester, from Berks County, from Morgantown, from Pottstown, from Norristown, Collegeville, Montgomery County, some from Delaware County, and so on. Mm-hmm. So they live, a lot of them live very far apart, but they really enjoy each other. So we have been offering a lot of after-school activities. We have an intramural program on Tuesdays, which is super popular with the 5th through 12th graders. We have a high school co-ed volleyball teams, and we're looking at PIAA for volleyball, hopefully very soon. We have a co-ed basketball team that meets on Mondays, partly just to practice and scrimmage together, but also looking for opportunities to play other teams in scrimmages.
You're at St. Monica's Parish in Berwyn, but you're not part of the parish. Is that correct? They're your landlord.
They are our landlords, yeah.
Right. So you lease the old school building that they used to use it for their parish school.
Both school buildings, yes, the 1958 and the 1916 building, yeah.
Okay, but to what extent does the school benefit from the church right there, community, the parish, and so on? And is there some reciprocity?
Well, we do have a really fine relationship with the parish. As I said, the students and teachers go to Mass, daily Mass, every daily Mass during the school year that we're in session. Some of our students are at Mass with the parishioners. And the parish, as our landlord, is very generous with us if we want to use the church, for instance, for a graduation Mass, things like that, or a retreat, things. We can borrow it. The parish has parish meetings in a parish center that's attached to our school, and so a lot of people come through our office, and they're kind of part of the community too. Yeah. So we are not St. Monica's school, but we're very much a factor in the community, and love them, and they love us. We have a new parish administrator, Father Paul O'Donnell now, and he's been down to talk to the kids. He comes out of being a chaplain at Archbishop Wood High School, and so he comes over and will talk to the children, and they really enjoy visiting with him. Great. So they're a very good relationship.
What percentage of the graduates go on to?
Over 90% go on to a 4-year university. We did have or college. We did have a couple last year, one who went to Williamson Technical School, which was new to us, but that's really neat. And there's a Catholic technical school opening up in Ohio.
Is there?
And a boy from that class and some kids who are currently seniors are checking into that. So we have that sort of thing. We have one young man last year who went into ministry, into the National Evangelization Teams, NET ministry in Minneapolis, St. Paul. So our graduates do a number of things. It used to be more and more went to college. Now that whole landscape's changing in general in the culture.
It is. Have you had any vocations yet?
We do. We have one graduate in the seminary. He's in his second year and at St. Charles. And we also have an 8th grade graduate who is in the seminary. Actually, the first one is in his 3rd year. The 8th grader is the one who graduated from our 8th grade is in his 2nd year at St. Charles. So we have 2.
Really?
Yeah, in the seminary right now.
That's great. You have to get some of the young ladies interested in the convent.
Yeah, well, we're lucky enough that we sometimes get surprise visits. For instance, St. Isaac Jogue Parish in Wayne had a priest and some nuns visiting from a religious order, and something changed in their schedule. They couldn't use them at a certain time. So Joe Aquilante, who was the youth minister there, called me up and said, "Hey, could they come see the school?" So we have various religious orders, both men and women, come through, and I wouldn't be surprised. We'll get a girl eventually.
Is there much collaboration among the 4 academies?
We heads of school try to meet fairly regularly, and
I mean, you all face the same issues.
Oh yeah, money and
teachers, recruiting, training,
just bouncing ideas off each other and pool our resources. We just had, for instance, Regina Chaley and Regina at St. John the Baptist and RLA all had a in-service day together here at our Berwyn campus, St. Monica's, where we spoke on special education and had some other meetings. And the teachers were able to have lunch together and get to know each other and network. So we do things like that. We have an annual, in the elementary school level, we have an annual declamation contest.
Annual
declamation contest. So what that is, and this has been going on since the beginning of the Regina Academies, each school sends a student from third, well, they're kind of combined right now, third and fourth, fifth and sixth, or seventh and eighth grade, so there'll be one participating from each of those grade levels. The little children memorize a poem. The age ones memorize prose, and then the seventh and eighth graders do some sort of an oration, something like that. Anyway, we have a big contest where we all come together, and it's sort of like your basketball game or something. You know, there's a lot of competition, a lot of fun, and we get to hear some beautiful pieces presented very well, and you know, somebody wins in each category and so on. So.
Yeah, your survival and your growth depend, I would think, largely on parental involvement and support.
Very much
so. Is there the equivalent of a parent-teacher association?
We do. We have a home and school association.
Home and school.
Yeah, it's gone under different names over the years, but no, parents are always encouraged to volunteer individually or to volunteer for particular events, and to arrange events also. You know, speakers that they would like to hear, and or you know, ways that they would like to gather. So very lot of parent involvement.
Fundraising has to be a big part of your day.
Well, fortunately, I have a guy who kind of looks at that, development guy. But it's a very big.
Came on.
It's a very big part of running a school like this, and there are several ways that we approach that. So there's people going on the website and clicking that donate button and donating, and of course those kind of annual appeals. Christmas appeals, things like that. We have several events a year. In the fall, we try to have a very family-oriented 5K Family Fun Day, which is open to the public, but also part of building community, having a lot of fun together. And in the spring, we usually have a gala with an auction, and ours is coming up here on March 25th at the Overbrook Country Club. So
that's a biggie, I would think.
Oh, it is. It's an important, and again, it's a community. It's open to everybody, but it's a community building event, and also major fundraiser. Yeah. And another way is for people in Pennsylvania. Again, we're lucky. Pennsylvania is very good. I've lived all over the country. Pennsylvania is very well organized on education. We were talking about assisted learning and special needs. There are many resources that schools like ours can access through the intermediate units and the districts. And another great way Pennsylvania supports education is the EITC or SPE program, where businesses or individuals
matching
they can donate 90% of their tax that they owe to the state to a school. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a corporation or an individual?
Either. EITC or SPE. SPE is the individual, EITC is the corporation.
To the state.
Well, what they do is, you know, your tax that you owe to the state, whoever you are, is $10,000, right? So you can donate that $10,000, and the trick is that you kind of have to put that up front. But when you go to do your taxes,
right,
then you get 90% of that back. You get a tax credit of 90% of that back. So the money that would have gone to the state goes to the school. We get the $10,000.
Is that new?
It's been around now for quite a number of years. Yeah,
I never heard of it before.
Yeah. No.
So the money that I, as an individual, pay to Pennsylvania,
exactly,
my income tax,
your income tax, basically,
I can designate
to the school, and to our school in particular, or to several schools or whatever.
Right, but I have to make the contribution
ahead of time
at the beginning of the year or something.
Yeah, but it's usually like in October or November.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We have, that's how we do a lot of 60% of our families ask for some sort of
Sure.
financial aid. We try to keep our tuition low, but we have a lot of big families, and just
Yeah.
people have different circumstances.
Yeah.
So one way we partially fund those scholarships, one may say, or financial aid for families.
Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure.
It's so
Thank
nice
you.
to hear stories like that.
Yeah, it's a good story.
Happy kids and happy environments.
It
Thank
is
you.
a little bit of heaven. Thank you. God
Have a
bless
good
you.
day. My
Yeah.
guest today has been Marybeth Brehaney, who is the head of school for Regina Luminis Academy. This is 30 Minutes. I'm Rick Anthony. Until next time, take very good care of yourselves